everyone. This is the CTE TEACH Podcast, and we are your moderators. I am Christopher McClung, and this is Grant Ermis.
Hi, everybody.
And so this month is February, and in February, it is Career Technical Education Month. And therefore, we have met up with 4 alumni of Career Technical Education. I'm going to go ahead and ask them to introduce themselves. If you could say hi to the listeners, say who you are and what it is that you do.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Christian Bonilla. I'm an art of animation and video game design teacher at Citrus Valley High School.
Hi, my name's Joyce. I work in vaccine immunology, and I work for a company that makes livestock vaccines.
And I'm Will Anderson. I'm a staff geologist for Ludorf and Scalmanini Consulting Engineers. We work in the groundwater industry.
My name's James Perkey. I own and operate Perkey Livestock Consulting, where I work with kids all over the country with their SAE projects at national and local shows to achieve those big wins that we always look for.
So first, we want to say thank you for listening. This podcast was created in partnership with the California Department of Education. And the purpose of this show is to bring forth relevant and in-depth discussions regarding teaching, education, mentoring, and most of all, career technical and education, or CTE.
Awesome. All right. So as we know, we have said already this month is February, and not only is it CTE month, but it's also another month that we celebrate a specific holiday, which we call Valentine's Day. So before we get into our discussion about career technical education, we're going to play a very short Valentine's Day game called Mushy Movie Trivia. And the way this works is we're going to ask you 10 questions, and whoever shouts out the answer first gets a point. So Grant, if you could do us a favor, maybe just kind of referee any tiebreakers we might have. And then so whoever gets the answers first wins a point. So contestants, are you ready to play Mushy Movie Trivia?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Very cool. All right, so first question. Fill in the blank of this infamous line from Jerry Maguire. You blank me.
complete.
Yeah, let's see. You complete me. Well, I think you and I would make excellent friends. We're both movie guys. Number 2, which idolized musician protects Robbie so he can sing Grow Old With You to Julia in The Wedding Singer?
No, I have no idea.
I've never seen The Wedding Singer.
They're too young, Chris. They're too young.
Okay. First thing, you need to go see The Wedding Singer. So I'll give you this one. It is Mr. Billy Idol.
Ooh.
Go see The Wedding Singer. Phenomenal movie. All right, next one. Well, then I wonder if you can get this. So what talent does Phil not acquire when trying to impress Rita in Groundhog Day? Have you all seen Groundhog Day? No. Okay, so then we're just going to do educated guesses. Of those 4, which one does he not do? And this will be just a guess. Was it oil painting, piano playing, ice sculpting, or speaking French?
Ice sculpting.
Okay.
Say speaking French.
Okay.
I guess I'll go with oil painting.
Yeah.
All right. So the correct answer is oil painting. He does not learn how to do oil painting, but he does everything else to the T. All right. So we're out of 3 questions. You guys have never heard of 2 of them. So we're doing well so far.
Doing good.
Question 4. Which day of the year does Harry confess his affections to his longtime friend, Sally?
February.
Valentine's Day? I don't know.
That's a good guess. Anybody else? It is a holiday. Kind of.
Christmas?
Okay. The correct answer is New Year's Eve.
Close.
How many of you have seen When Harry Met Sally?
No.
Oh my goodness!
I was born in the 90s.
You're an old soul, Chris.
I guess so, because so speaking of 90s, let's keep going on. Where did Noah and Allie meet in The Notebook?
At a carnival.
Ah, yay! She got that
there
right.
we
That
go.
is correct. At a carnival. Very good. Question 6. Where does Sam meet Annie for the first time in Sleepless in Seattle? They'd be shaking their head. They don't know.
Is it an airport?
Good guess, but no. So the correct answer for this one. So first of all, you also need to see some romantic movies when we're done here. The Empire State Building.
That's it.
Big thing, yeah. They talk about the movie An Affair to Remember, and they end up being the Empire State Building. So speaking of 90s movies, how many 90s romantic comedies have Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan starred in together?
6.
Good guess.
3.
Okay. And another bonus point if you can name those 3. So you are correct, James. Can you guys name them?
Wait, who's in it again?
Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Nope.
Crickets today, man.
Yeah, I know.
Is You've Got Mail one of them?
We've got one. Yep.
Um,
And we just showed another one.
Sleepless in Seattle.
There's one more.
Gosh, I don't remember.
The answer is Joe versus the Volcano.
Oh, yeah, wouldn't have gotten that one.
Question 8.
This isn't that good.
This is timeless. Which phrase does Wesley say to Buttercup, which implies I love you?
That is a timeless classic.
Oh,
That is a timeless classic. There is no excuse. This one.
I can quote a lot of other things from The Princess Bride.
I've only seen it one time.
Not on Netflix. I haven't seen it.
You guys ready for the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. As you wish. As you wish. So whenever she orders him around, he says, as you wish. Same thing I tell my wife, as you wish. Here's one little more recent. How many first dates do Henry and Lucy go on?
50.
Yes. 50 first dates. Good job, Will. Last question. This one's epic. Everybody should get this one. Who are the 2 main characters in this Titanic Academy Award-winning love story?
Rose and Jack.
Yes, that is correct. Joyce, you are our winner by default because you know more than anybody else except for Will. Will, you're pretty close. So as far as romantic movies go, you guys win. And your reward is that all of you can go watch these movies anytime you want. Find them. I highly encourage you to do it. It'll change your life. So,
All right. So we've had a chance to go through some amazing Mushy movie trivia. And now the first thing that we really want to know in today's podcast is just a little bit about you. So we're going to go around, and on my screen, we'll start with Christian, and then I'll call the next person when he's all said and done. But we want you to share your story of being a CTE student and how it led to where you're working and what you're doing now. So we'll start off with Christian. Tell us your story.
Yeah, so I was involved in CTE throughout pretty much all of high school with the wonderful Chris McClung here. Started out in a web design class, then took a game design class. I TA'd for him, and I was also the ROP ambassador, or one of the ambassadors at my high school. And so pretty much all throughout high school, I was involved in CTE one way or another. And this led to kind of my industry experience, my industry career, which was previously I worked doing digital marketing. So creating graphic design, doing web design, sort of slipped into architectural visualization, which is like, renderings and all that sort of stuff, kind of the stuff that I'm teaching now. And my experience in CTE also sort of led me down the path of becoming a teacher, because, all the opportunities that I was presented there are what led to me getting my job in the first place in the industry, being exposed to those tools and those kinds of just really great opportunities. And that experience helped me to kind of, figure out that I wanted to share the same experiences with students myself as a teacher, just because I thought, it was so amazing for me. Like, I really want to keep that going and spread the good word and have students just learn, the same way that I learned. And yeah, that's kind of my whole path. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm teaching one of the classes I took myself, which is video game design. but also the art of animation.
Ooh,
Cool.
it's one of those things that it's like you're paying it forward. So now the big question is, who are you going to pick to take your place?
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, James, tell us your story.
So I don't know, it's kind of funny is that my experience is I'm still doing the same thing. I feel like I work with young kids with their projects. So, my CTE experience has been, livestock oriented. I grew up raising and breeding hogs my whole life. My grandpa was a butcher. Currently what I do is, I work with different farms. We figure out different vaccine programs that we need to put in play. We show pigs, so we're exposed to a lot of different things. So we overcome a lot of obstacles with, PED or PRRS or any of those swine diseases out there. But I'm pretty much doing the same thing that I did in high school, is help my friends out, help out other people that I went to school with, help their kids out with their projects as well.
That's cool.
You just get paid for it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I get to travel to all the shows. I get to travel with my family, with my niece and stuff. So it's been a very accomplishing year, winning a lot of national shows.
Nice. Very cool.
Cool. Will, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I guess I'm kind of in a similar situation to Christian, in that I'm kind of in my second career now almost, which is strange being that I'm only 29. But so I participated in CTE in high school. I actually took a semester of wood shop and then 3 years of agricultural mechanics, which for those who don't know, kind of runs the gamut of all of the different types of kind of mechanical and building type things that you would run into in a agriculture operation. So there's a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. I went on from that I went to college at the U.S. Military Academy, West Point. I had a dream of serving in the military as an officer, and so that was where I went and did that. And so obviously coming right out of there, I served 6.5 years on active duty as an engineer officer. Spent a few years in Alaska, some time in Missouri, and then some time in Texas with one short stint in Afghanistan thrown in there as well. So, applied a lot of the things that I learned in that sort of first career, and then decided that I wanted to get out of the military and start what I'm doing now, which is working for a groundwater consulting firm. So I'm a staff geologist there. I'm kind of the new guy. I've kind of total pivot 180 on my career path now, but the lessons that I've picked up along the way, starting with CTE and then going all the way through, are still serving me now very well.
Very cool.
Joyce?
So my name's Joyce, and I have had a wide variety of jobs, courtesy of my husband, Will. Being in the Army, we moved a lot. So I've gone from doing field research, working for the Reindeer Research Program, to managing a lab animal facility in Alaska, to being a zookeeper in Missouri, to managing the grazing animal nutrition lab for Texas A&M, to now I'm working in vaccine immunology. So long story short, I've had a lot of jobs in the world of animal science and lab work. How CTE connects into that, I started taking CTE classes actually in junior high. I did, wood shop and home ec, and we had a computer class. And then in high school, I started with ag bio as a freshman, and that was actually the first place that I learned how to do like micropipettes and gelphoresis and things that I use 15 times a day now. And then obviously all of the animal information. I do a lot of animal care and records maintenance, things like that came out of my livestock showing career, how to manage colonies and breeding lines. And then along with Will, I also took ag mechanics, which doesn't officially fit into my career path, but let me tell you, life's a lot easier when you know how to fix all the little things and you don't have to call somebody in because, the hose busted off of your air compressor or whatever it might be that day.
And that is a great, and Grant's nodding his head. So that is a great segue, actually, because our next question is like, what skills did you guys obtain in your classes that you now use in your career, or even as you just said, Joyce, like even in your daily lives? Like, what can you guys share some of those skills that you might have acquired, how you're using them, and feel free to just go, answer anybody.
I think a big one for me was just, adapting to diversity, in daily life. I see everything. We show livestock, so there's no biosecurity per se. There's no real way of preventing our animals from getting diseases and stuff. So, we have to overcome those and work with different vets and different people within the industry to overcome those. Going to a farrowing house and seeing a whole, farrowing house full of baby pigs scouring with PED is the most devastating thing in the world, because you're planning a year in advance, 2 years in advance to have those babies be successful at, county and local and like national shows. So I think, what prepared me was, having some of those challenges, with my projects in high school and things like that, overcoming, them, not eating or them getting sick or whatnot, and working with different vets and things like that. So I think a big skill is just overcoming those big obstacles that happen everyday life.
Being that my career right now is that I'm actually a CTE teacher, I'm teaching a lot of the same skills that I learned. So, but if I go back a little bit to when I was actually working in the industry, I think some of the big, the key skills that I learned was just the communication and collaboration of being able to work with other people really well. And that was a huge part of CTE is, lots of group projects and meeting different people, and sometimes they don't pull their weight on the project, and other times it's like great. It was very applicable, working in the real world. It's very much the same. Of course, leadership skills and being able to actually lead a team and finish a project was huge. And then going back to what James was saying, just the adaptability is such a massive skill. Being able to learn things quickly, adapt, and apply new skills. I'm sure, as we've all learned, last year, pretty much the whole world had to adapt in one way or another to doing things online or doing things differently. So, that was a huge part of CTE as well, just learning how to adapt.
For sure.
Yeah, I definitely echo those like soft skills that the two just mentioned previously. That the leadership and the collaboration and overcoming adversity definitely plays into it. And then one thing that I would probably throw in as well is having a sort of background and experience in the practical arts, and then seeing that stuff later on at more of the, I guess, sort of theoretical level, when I went further on into my education. So like, for instance, learning about, electrical wiring and things like that, but then seeing the kind of theoretical side when I was in college physics and, welding and seeing things like that in chemistry, having a background in things like surveying, and then seeing that stuff again later on in my education definitely paid dividends. And then just applying a lot of the things that I learned into my career in the Army. I was kind of more in a managerial role as an officer. And so having that experience, like Christian was talking about, with kind of planning projects and running projects and interpreting plans and, making materials lists and things like that, keeping projects on track, definitely played into my success as an engineer officer. And then now getting into the groundwater world, having a background in, understanding how things like pumps and surveying and just, project planning all works has absolutely been very important in my success?
For me, a lot of the stuff that I find the most useful is just like in science, it's always figuring out a solution to a problem generally. And whether you're building something or, you're cooking and you mix in the wrong ingredients, you have to go back and kind of unpiece it and say, where did this go wrong? And like, that seems like a very basic, like, okay, we did this, this, and this, like do it backwards. But a lot of people don't ever learn that at some point in their life. Or, just simple things like putting machinery together and things like that. And so I've had a lot of those kind of experiences. Just I become the go-to person that it's like, hey, Joyce, this is broken. Look at it. I'm always the person that gets called. And then for me, a lot of the animal care and just scientific process, learning all of your basics of, coming up with a hypothesis and then testing your theories and things like that. That's really what I use most day to day. And then on a, for myself home note, I like cooking and food is delicious.
Nice. Very cool. So this is a spontaneous question. What was Grant like as a teacher?
Oh, no, bad question.
Well, I guess this is probably fairly illuminating. He was a good enough teacher that Joyce and I knew each other in high school and dated in high school. And when we got married, we decided to have Grant officiate our wedding. So
that's cool. I did not know that.
You can see that he had an impact.
Bodie went to all of our Ag Mechanus competitions and also our wedding.
Okay.
That's my dog, by the way.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Also, I remember him randomly doing a backflip for us one day because we didn't know he could do a backflip. And so he did one right outside the shop.
You got to keep him intrigued in some fashion, right?
We call it engagement. That's right.
All I remember is him loving his snacks all the time.
He did always have an extensive boot collection hidden in the back room, too.
It's a good teacher. Snacks, change of clothes. It's good stuff.
Yeah, he always did have a pretty decent sense of style, which seems to have kind of dropped off a little bit with that polo shirt. What do you got going on there, Grant?
It's because I'm in Texas and we haven't had water or electricity for the last 3 days.
He's like, this is my only green shirt.
That's right.
Forgot about that.
Very cool. That's good.
If you were to be able to sit down with a group of young students who are just getting involved in high school and say they were picking their class schedule coming up into their freshman year, what would you tell them about the need to consider or not CTE? So if they were not even considering it, what would you tell young students the benefit of CTE would be?
Yeah, I would say, I think I would just kind of try to assure them, like, don't be afraid to get in there and try something new. Like being young or being in high school, or whatever it might be, is like the perfect time to fail. Not to say that they will literally fail, but if it doesn't work out in the end, and they find out they don't like that pathway or that career field, like they still got in there and tried it out, and they learned from that, most importantly. And that's what it's all about. Is a lot of students go into CTE classes, and it might not be that all 30 students, from a period want to be doing that specific career. So in my case, I teach animation and game design. I know all my students don't want to be animators or they don't want to be game designers, but that's not what CTE is only about. It provides them opportunities to learn about soft skills like we talked about earlier, and employability skills, interview skills, just regular life skills. And I think it's crucial to education. That they should not be afraid. Well, I don't really like this subject, so I don't think I'm going to take this class. I would say, well, don't be afraid just because of the title of the class. Like, get in there and check it out. And if you don't like it, then at least you tried.
And that's a great point, Christian. I think it's important to tell the kids also, it's important to not only figure out what you like, but you also get a chance to figure out what you don't like. And I've had many students I've heard say they wanted to be a nurse or they want to be in the medical field. Then they took an ROP CTE class in high school where they had to do an internship and they said, nope, it's not for me. And we had saved them thousands upon thousands of dollars because they figured out in high school, I am not excited about the medical field because I got a chance to try it out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very cool. That's a good point.
I think I'll step in here next. One thing that I would say to kids that think they're, or are planning on being college bound, that was definitely the case for most of the students at the high school that we went to. I would say that even if your pursuits are going to be more in the academic realm, and you're looking to be employed in something that's traditionally kind of more thought of as kind of white collar work, there is still a lot of value in technical education. I went on to college and went on to get a master's degree, but the lessons that I learned in CTE stuck with me a lot better than some of the things that I learned later on. And the things that I learned in CTE helped a lot of the things that I learned later on stick because I understood the application of the theories that I was learning. And so that would be kind of my biggest thing is even if you think that your life's going to go in a certain direction, and it might end up going in that direction, don't think that CTE doesn't have something of value for you.
It's good words.
I think we should ask Christian if Chris was a good teacher.
Yeah, Chris was a good teacher. Well, to kind of describe Chris as a teacher, he made us rap videos every year at the end of the school year, like that were custom made for everyone who was in his class. So he didn't just like recycle them, he made them every year. And
that makes me totally not cool.
Yeah, so I know you have those, so you better cut them in at the end of this episode.
I'll put a link. So if you just Google my name in YouTube, you'll find them. So my last one has me battling Darth Vader and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Oh man. So not to sidetrack things, but I remember for all the graduating seniors, Grant used to do a crystal ball where he would predict our futures. And I am still to this day trying to get myself into a position where I am briefing the president of the United States because Grant said that he thought that was going to happen for me someday.
That's cool.
So maybe you might still be right.
You might still be right. That's very cool. That's awesome. Well, it's neat to hear how influential teachers can be, the things, and the three of us, we're working in education right now, and we can attest to what it's like to really know, to see students succeed and see students, do a great job when they leave. And teaching can be, sometimes the rewards aren't immediate, but they're definitely, like lifelong lasting and stuff. And it's neat to see that. It's neat to see that in career technical education. So speaking of influential teachers, our last question, which we'll ask you guys is, so kind of tell you what CTE Teach is this is a statewide program where what we do is we help develop mentors for brand new CTE teachers. So Christian came in, he was from the industry of arts and media and graphic design and all that, came in as a brand new teacher. And so CTE Teach helped him like with mentoring and telling him, it's going to be all right. You're going to make it through. And, you can make it to the end of the year, and help him with lesson planning and all that stuff. And that's what CTE Teach does. So if we could, so I say all that to say, if we go around the table, maybe just share somebody who was a mentor in your life, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a teacher. It could be a family member or, an employer or anybody who was influential as far as getting you and helping you be kind of where you are today. And we'll kind of popcorn that, whoever wants to go first, and just share who is basically a mentor shout out. Like, who would get your mentor shout out?
I can go. I had a professor in college, Dr. Mark Horney. He teaches at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And he got me involved in the world of rangeland management. And I actually did a minor. I did a major in animal science and a minor in rangeland management, basically because of him. And I got my first summer internships up in Alaska because I overheard him having the right conversation. And I just had a lot of really cool experiences through his influence and taking classes that were part of his kind of world and curriculum. And then I transferred myself so that he was my advisor in school. So I still, to this day, we message back and forth occasionally, and he's somebody who really helped me kind of find a path within the world of animal science, although I haven't stuck to it that well because I've moved so much, but he gave me something that I really enjoyed.
That's cool.
I can go next here. So my mentor shout out goes to my previous manager and close friend, Cesar Rodriguez. I know Chris already gave you my mentor shout out last time I was on the show, but my previous manager, Cesar, he was great. He's actually the best man at my wedding, and we got really close, when I was working with him, and he was just always supportive. And if it wasn't for him, I definitely wouldn't have probably left the industry, because he was always supporting me. I was kind of like, well, I don't know if the teaching thing's right for me. Like, I'm already doing well here, but he was, pushing me to do greater things, and wrote me referral letters, and all of this while I was, working with him, for him. Just his support throughout the years has been great. So shout out to Cesar. Thank you.
I'm having a hard time picking one, guys.
You can say more than one. It's not
the end all be all. Yeah.
A person.
I know I have a lot, I feel like, in my life. Like going back to like even the last question you guys asked is like, relationships and networking have really opened up a lot of doors for me within the show industry. Like that networking I wouldn't have probably got without like some of those programs through the CTA and, those leadership classes and that, bond you make with other kids from different schools and reaching out to them and leaning on them for, advice or questions that you might have within, whatever industry you're working in. I have ones that, I worked for ADM Animal Nutrition for a year in college, and I've worked for Bar Ale, another feed company, and other show pig operations. And I think within each of those entities, I've had a lot of mentors that have shown me that, if you stick with it, if you network really hard and work hard at your craft, that you can be successful at anything that you do. And that's really proven strong with the families I work with, because we've had a lot of success at different levels. And, I've been able to manage different herds within different states, as far as Texas to Idaho and Oregon. And, that trust, that networking, a lot of these families I work for are purely based on networking with my friends, a lot of referrals that get me jobs that, this is my day-to-day life. I'm in the Valley right now and I live on the Central Coast. So it's pretty fun and rewarding, but I think there's such a long list. I don't think I could list one person to say is a main mentor, but Grant was pretty good too in high school, I would say. Pushing me towards making sure I got that last win my senior year, when it's the end all be all and you were able to take home showmanship and win that whole market show.
Yeah, like James was saying, it's really hard to pick one. I guess one person that I would like to highlight is my company commander when I was a platoon leader. His name is Mike Smaluka. He really kind of encouraged me to really follow my own path when I was in a situation where things were very kind of set for me. Being in the military, it's a very set kind of progression, linear sort of career path. And he was just so kind of open to me speaking my mind about what I wanted to do with what I wanted to do with my life, and really encouraged me to follow up on those kind of dreams and ambitions that I had, even though they didn't fit with the mold of the path that he followed and kind of what the path of people around me was. And so he really encouraged me to do what I wanted to do, even though it wasn't, super popular at the time with folks around me. So I would definitely like to give him a shout out.
Cool.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I think that kind of brings us into the end.
Great
Any other
content.
final parting words from the crew at the table about CTE?
I think I do. I mean, just take every opportunity that's given to you and roll with it, because you never know where you're going to be in life. I mean, I never thought I'd be working for myself at 26 years old, having a successful business and taking that leap of faith during a pandemic year and being still successful. I think, just stick with what you want to do in life and be happy.
Awesome.
Good.
That's very cool, James.
Yeah. Well, then if that brings us to the end, we definitely want to thank you to the panel, and thank you for the listeners for listening to the CTE Teach podcast. We hope you've enjoyed your time with us as much as we have with you. And we also invite you to follow us on Twitter at CTE_Teach, TEACH, or on multiple different podcast stations, including our YouTube channel at CTE Teach. So thank you. Chris?
Yeah, thank you. So every month we also close out with an inspirational quote. And so this month we close our episode with a quote by author John Gordon. And he said, "Each day, remember your purpose. Remember why you do what you do. We don't get bummed out because of what we do. We get bummed out because we forget why we do it." So thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time on the CTE Teach podcast. Everybody say
Bye.
Bye.